Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the guardian of the blue paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, are the right people in all the right places for the Flyers. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Ink. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And as always, I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. And Lance, my friend, how are you, sir?
I am doing great. Ready to get some talking points discussed here. I want to go over some things with you for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. A lot of things going on necessarily off the ice right now for the Philadelphia Flyers. And that's right. We are the Hockey Writers Ink. Lance Green is your host, and I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. And we talk about the Philadelphia Flyers at length. And we have been for a very long time. So we're going to get right into it with episode number 124. Wow. 124? Wow. All right. Flyers brass is saying all the right things, but actions speak louder than words. And I've been seeing a lot of and this leads right into our first talking point for the show. And I think that title basically just sets us up. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a lot of fans right now are waiting and very anxious with all the moves that have been made in the upper management, and all of them not maybe moves that they're so pleased with, or want to see
fans.
How they play out. Yeah, or want to see how they play out. Let's say that. So
that's a better way to put that, I think, is let's see how this all plays out, because you got to give everybody at least a shot. So all right. This is what I want to get into here. This is the very first point that I want to talk about right off the bat. And it's, I keep hearing the same lip service, right? I keep hearing the same things over and over again. I just hear them now from different people. Okay. So a couple years ago when AV was hired and Chuck Fletcher brought in and AV was hired, we heard the same things. We're going to change the culture. We're going to make things better. We're going to this. We're going to that. We're going to this. We're going to that. And then, right, you had the co-president or whoever Valerie is, or Camilla, or whatever her title is, and she's sitting down there saying, "Hey, all right, we got a fresh coat of paint on everything, and everything's looking great." And and the first thing that Jones comes out and says that he's been to every single arena for hockey, which the man has, and he says that in spite of how old Philadelphia building is, still doing it right. Okay. Cool. That's great. And we want to, improve the fan experience and all this other stuff. And I mean, like, I watched this interview for, I don't know, 22 minutes it was, right? They had Danny Briere, they had Camilla up, they had Keith Jones, right? And all these guys were up there doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a nice dog and pony show for sure. But Steel, you got to remember, they've come out and said they want that president of hockey operations kind of to switch gears from the normal and kind of be that guy that's going to be making sure all of those things, like you just said, are happening. They want to sell tickets. They want to create a better environment because they know the team is bad and is going to be bad for a couple of years. So they at least want people to be able to come in and have fun at the games. Make sure you're drawing in that younger crowd still and all this. So it's a great concept, and Keith Jones can walk around there if they want him to, shaking hands and kissing babies, whatever the heck whatever they want him to do. But at the end of the day, he's still, in my mind, got to bring back this core, this Flyers mantra of sorts that the team has been lacking for so long.
See, and he's come out and said it. and everybody's saying all the right things. Danny Briere's saying the right things, and Keith Jones is saying all the right things. And I understand that they're making a change here with the whole hockey ops thing being more of the liaison between ownership and management of the team. And okay, I understand that, but it's a completely new position that's really never been done, and Keith Jones has no experience in even the regular, like if you just give him the regular hockey ops job, right? Like he has no experience in that either. Look, we talked at length about our level of respect for Keith Jones and what he has done to this point in his career. Okay. But I'm just not seeing things on the resume that scream hockey ops. Even this new position that Philadelphia is coming up with. Do you know what I'm saying? And there was one thing that I did take from what Keith Jones did say is that once he got as part of the hockey ops, he was allowed to start talking to, guys from other teams. And he was able to speak to guys like Joe Sakic and Drury and some of those guys that he mentioned about that are in those positions. Yeah, that he's friends with, but that are also in those positions at their respectable teams. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So look, we've both been to games as fans. Okay. You've taken your family there as fans. Do you know what I'm saying? Is it a horrible experience to go to the Wells Fargo Center and watch a hockey game?
I mean, these past couple of seasons, maybe because they always lose. But no, I'm just kidding.
I'm not talking about the on-ice product.
I know. I was just kidding. No, it's a nice. They dumped a bunch of money in renovations and everything to the rink, and it's a nice experience. My kids enjoyed themselves. They now they have Gritty, and most people love him. He's fun. He's jovial. He's doing some crazy stuff around the rink to keep them entertained in between play, and in theory it's all working for Comcast, right? They have money rolling in. People are still buying tickets to this horrible train wreck of a team, and in theory it sounds like it's going to work, right? You have Danny Briere because they want to change to bring in this new NHL type players that are more like Danny was, more finesse, more scoring, flashy players, smaller, more compact, but like Danny Briere was. But at the same time, you have Keith Jones there, who is from the old school of things, where the guys are a little bigger, a little stronger, protect that star talent. And, so it's kind of the best of both worlds from their mindset, I guess. But it, like you said, is lacking a whole lot of experience for me. And like we stated, and like I've written in past articles, there's a lot to be done here. There's nothing to stand on for your foundation. Your foundation is in shambles, right? You don't have a star player. Drew is long gone. You don't have a wealth of draft picks. They do have quite a few. They have a couple of thirds, a couple of fourths. That's great, but that's not going to change your team drastically overnight after the draft is done. That's not going to put people in the Flyers uniform for a couple of seasons at least. And, they don't have any cap space in which to bring people in. So I hear a lot of talk, like you said, Steel. I hear a lot of talk of what they want to do, what they plan to do. But until they start executing these moves, and because they seem pretty far off in my book, I don't know who anybody is going to want to take. They say Columbus is interested and has been interested in a guy like Kevin Hayes, maybe if they eat some contract. But I mean, the guy went 26 games without a goal after he made the All-Star game. So his inconsistency in play is scary in my mind, to say the least. You still have question marks there with, you know, uh, Couturier and Atkinson both being injured, and of course Ryan Ellis. You know, they're saying they want to move his contract, but I don't know who the heck's going to want to take on that. You know, Arizona was always good for that, and they took on a lot at the deadline as well, yet again, to get draft picks. I don't think the team wants to give up draft picks, what they're going to have to do if somebody's going to eat that contract for them. And honestly, Arizona just got turned down for their deal of
Yeah,
getting a new rig. Tempe doesn't want them, right? So not for the price that's going to cost their folks that live there. So
exactly.
you know, I don't see them buying too many big expensive contracts that they're going to have to pay out and not have that player on the ice. You know, I think they're going to have to take a new approach to that, and less teams are likely to do that. So I see the reality of all these things that they're hoping and dreaming of happening this offseason, not coming true. Let's say that.
Well, no, I think when you
Oof,
preface it by saying hoping and dreaming,
yeah,
because everything that you just said is a lot of ifs,
yeah.
right?
It's wishful thinking for sure.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that, Lance. A great way to put that is wishful thinking, because yes, we wish we could get rid of Hayes. Yes, we wish we could get rid of Ellis. Yes, we wish that Couturier could come back healthy. And yes, we wish that Atkinson could come back healthy. And yes, we wish we could trade some guys so we could get some picks and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. But you stated some very key important factors that's going to prevent the Flyers from doing anything. And number one is the cap. And they're not even, it's not like they have any money, but any money that they would have is now subject to fines by the mandated 1.8 million that has to go on the books for the cap for the Flyers because of what they did in this last year. So you're already starting in the hole with the league, and then the previous administration started you in the hole with these atrocious contracts, and then all these injury contracts, and then you have no cap space and you have no draft picks. You were telling me the other day that the Flyers got these this number of draft picks, and I'm just like, well, from where?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, this is what I meant by this whole everybody's saying the right things, and all this other stuff, but I think this leads right into our second point, which is this is a lot of stuff for two rookies to suddenly try to wrap their arms around. Okay? So not only are you taking on this whole change the culture, and changing the whole front end, but now you got to deal with what's going on the ice. You know what I mean? And there's not a lot of good. There's some, but this team needs a lot of work. And I don't have the same confidence in Keith Jones and Danny Briere, who were ex-teammates. I don't have the same confidence in them that they will be able to do this in a way that's going to be beneficial to the team.
Right. Well, in saying that, I think that's why Keith Jones came out and was talking about the possibility of having John Tortorella come into the room as well, and basically hold a lot of say in possibly who they draft or who they look to bring in free agency and all that. Now, I kind of like the concept of it. All right. I like that the GM and the head coach are talking and they're discussing, okay, obviously the head coach is going to want guys that he would think work in his system to come in. He just doesn't want a GM that doesn't listen to him and is bringing in players that he likes that don't fit into his system, and that's not setting himself up for success. All right. Because we all know what Torts is going to do if he doesn't like the guy. He's going to sure as heck tell us about it and
Yeah,
get him out the door, right?
in uncertain terms, in a way, yeah. But see, that in there in itself lies another conundrum. It goes back to the whole Bill Parcells thing that, hey, if you're going to be the coach, and let me buy some of the groceries, okay. But here's my concept for you. Your job is the coach the players that are on the team. Now, it's the GM and everybody else's job to realize that, hey, we brought this coach in that plays this system. Mm-hmm. So we better start drafting guys that are going to fit into this coach's system, or we're not going to set up this coach to be successful, or we're not going to set up this team to be successful. If you have a coach and a GM on two different trains, then that's when you got problems. I don't got a problem with the coach and the GM talking. They should be talking. They should have a relationship like this. That should be hand in hand. Okay? But I don't think that bringing Tortorella into the room is what you need to do. You need to get his input and go, all right, we need to find guys that are such and such physical specimens. We need to find guys that can play 200-foot game. We need to find guys that are defensive responsible. We need to find guys like this. We need to find guys like this. Well, guess what? You just got all of your requirements from your coach of what you need to go get as far as groceries. He just gave you his grocery list. Yeah. So now, as the GM, it's your job to go out and get this grocery list.
Right. I think it needs to be limited. Now, I don't want to see a continuation on what he did and Danny did at the end of the season, where he's pulling himself from behind the bench to go sit up with Briere. Okay, you're paid to do a job. You need to do that job. It is fine, like you said, if you check in and say, hey, where are you guys at? Are we on a similar page here? But at the end of the day, you should be down working with your players. You should be, doing the drills and doing all that stuff, not worried about what's going on and who they're going to bring in. And so you need to have random talks throughout parts of the season to.
Well, you're not even random. Like, you could just have them scheduled every week.
Right. Something in a certain amount of time frame that you double back and you just make sure that you guys are still on the right train or on the right path there, and are continuing down the track to get this team better. He doesn't need to be in the war room when they're making the selections. He doesn't need to be, all of this throughout the whole season at the deadline, worried about who they're going to pick up. That is not his job necessarily. But I do like that they are at least talking and open communication lines. That is kind of what I like. But at the same time, with that, I kind of don't like the fact that the team has allowed Keith Jones to take already a leave of absence and go back and cover these playoff games that he was contractual signed to do anyway. But you got a big job ahead of you that you've never done before. And now you're already taking a break when you should be studying film of players and going over stuff, of potential draft picks, or be calling people who, you're going to be making trades with as soon as the season's over. Like, there's a lot you should be doing right now as the newly appointed president of hockey operations. And you're not doing that. You're off covering games and everything else, and that's kind of scary to me. Like, if you took on this job, you should have said goodbye to your other job and been okay leaving them hanging in a sense, and them to find other good people to cover games, like our
which
friend.
They did for the week that he was out to get the job, right? Yeah. So. Now, see, I'm with you on that too. I'm I'm very look. When I first started watching Flyers hockey, I got to listen to Jim Jackson and Gary Dornhofer and Steve Coates, and that was the announcement team that did every game for probably the first couple years that I watched. And then when Dorney retired, right, and then they moved Jonesy in between the glass, and then they brought in Bill Clement a lot, and I really enjoyed Bill Clement there with Jim Jackson and everything else like that, and then Steve Coates between the benches and down on the ice and all that other stuff. And they've gone through a group of guys, and then they finally kind of got into to Jonesy. And Jonesy and Jimmy have been together for, oh, I don't know, probably the better part of the last 10 years, right? Something like that, something easy like that. And they've been a really good team of broadcasters for Philadelphia. Okay, they've done really well, and Jones has done a great job. I have a lot of respect for what he's done as a player. I have a lot of respect for what he's done as a broadcaster. Do you know what I mean? He that was not something that came easy to him. He had to learn it. You know what I mean? And so big props. Does that mean that he's not capable of learning the hockey ops position? No, I got no problems and have no qualms about the fact that Keith Jones is an intelligent hockey mind that we're going to be able to tap into. Okay, cool. But he doesn't have any experience, and it just makes me nervous because there's so much to do. And now you're covering 4 overtimes and up till 2:00 in the morning when you should be covering draft picks and who you guys are going to be picking in the draft that's a little bit over a month away. This kind of boils back to the whole, okay, we've heard all the lip service just from different people, but now we need to see some actions. And the first action we see is you come out giving us lip service and then you leave to go back to doing playoff games. I understand why he's doing it, and I have a lot of respect for it, but it just seems a little bit, the timing just seems a little off to me. You know what I mean? Like, you just got this big giant gig that you should probably be dedicating a lot more time to, and you're not. You know what I mean? So apparently TBS or TNT was more than willing to give you the week off to go apply for the job or interview for the job or whatever, right? But then they should understand that, well, you got hired for the job, so now you have something else to do. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's amazing how many NHL network spots and all this stuff he's been on covering and doing shows about the outlook of the team and all this other stuff. And I tend to I like watching it to see where his mind is, but at the same time I'd rather him be in the war room kind of getting ready to go for this off season. Like you said, there's so many different aspects that him and Danny got to tackle, and from the draft to free agency to possible player coaches I think need to be addressed as well. Maybe not Tortorella, but the
other
Flyers
coaches.
the Flyers still had one of the worst, if not the worst, power play in the league.
The worst. Worst.
So some other coaching changes might need to happen as well. We've talked about the medical side of things. Yep.
The Phantoms too. I believe that's going to need to be addressed, right?
Yep. So there's some spots there, and the different, all aspects encompassing the team, not just the draft coming up or free agency after that. There's a lot of holes in this franchise. Their foundation has been crumbling since Ed Snyder died, and they need to work back and tear it all down to build it back up again. And I just don't see the devotion to the team when you're sitting, like you said, covering a 4 overtime game, and that team is not your team anymore, that you would be covering. You got a different job. You got a whole new office sitting there vacant while you're going to do all these things.
I mean, like I said, I understand why he's doing it, because he's contractually obligated. You know what I mean? And either TNT said that they weren't going to break the contract with him, because obviously with Keith Jones there, that equals ratings. Because you notice now in the conference finals, now Wayne Gretzky's now sitting at the table, right? The whole first two rounds, he wasn't even there, right? And then they even brought back in Rick Tocchet for a couple of games. Anyway, yeah. I digress. There's a lot of stuff going on with the Flyers right now, and it just seems like you taking a leave of absence to cover the playoffs should have probably have been on the bottom of the list instead of at the top of the list. I mean, I get what you're doing, and I understand it, and I do respect it. He's living up to his obligations, and that's very rare these days, where people just think that it's just easy to just, oh, okay, and not live up to their obligations that they promised. I understand he's living up to those obligations that he signed the contract and promised to. But come on. You mean to tell me that TNT can't let you fly because you got a new gig? Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at here. You know what I'm saying? There's UFAs and RFAs that need to be addressed. Yeah, Zumalo was signed. Okay, great. But there's still this huge long list of other things that need to be done, right? And Philadelphia, over the last administration, has had a reputation for doing things at the very last minute. And when you do things at the last minute, you usually forget to dot an I or cross a T or something somewhere. You know what I mean? And you end up with a no trade clause injury contract from Ryan Ellis. Or, you know what I'm saying, right? So this is what I'm talking about. This is the nuts and bolts of what's going on here. The fact that they did not bring in a single person that has any experience at all, either in the GM or the hockey ops position, really scares me. I understand that they want to bring in new blood and they want to get, a new culture and everything else, just like Chuck Fletcher and AV were going to do. Right. And yeah, they changed the culture. All right. Okay. And this is what we got. Right. So don't tell me you're changing the culture. Don't tell me you're going to do things. Show me. Make that deal for Ivan Provorov, for Carter Hart, or somebody right now, and get that draft pick right now. What are you waiting for?
I don't think they can do anything till after the season, but
you get what I'm saying. If you can, do it. If you have to wait till the end of the season, my bad. Then you have to wait till the end of the season. But you know what? The day that they hand out the Stanley Cup, the next day you should be on the ball, or whenever you're able. Okay. I mean, I just, it's frustrating to continually see the same things being said, only just with different people. And nothing seems to be changing, right? The team isn't any better. The coaches haven't changed. Like, you could be looking for a coach right now. Couldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, assistant coaches, or you could be looking for, AHL coaches, or, I mean, there's all these things that you could be doing. Are they doing them? Well, how can they be doing them if you're not at the job? So we know that the playoffs are going to at least run until June. So now if you're covering games until 2 weeks before the draft, well, man, that doesn't give you a lot of time, does it?
Nope. Not at all.
Last year, they hired Tortorella 6 weeks before the draft. 6 weeks. Okay? And now they're trying to say that he wants to have a say in things? when they waited 6 weeks before the draft to hire him, and now they want him to have a say in things. I don't know, man. Maybe it's me. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the team is, in a sense, that they need to get out of the same old song and dance of, waiting. And waiting has allowed us not to get the draft picks this past trade deadline. They waited for people to call him, like Chuck said, and like, I'm sorry, you're the used car salesman here. You need to get out there and sell what you got on your lot. And then maybe we wouldn't have been picking 7th if we got rid of some people that we are now going to be trying to still get rid of at this point. Once it's opened back up at the draft, if we got rid of
free
those
agency
people,
is going to hit then too. Yeah.
right. But if we got rid of those people at the trade deadline and got significantly worse when we know the season was over anyway, maybe we could have been drafting 3 or 4th or something like that instead of 7th, and got a whole different level of player at that point, rather than a collection of guys that we could probably choose from at 7 that could go from anywhere from 7 to 15. Maybe we could have got a top 3 talent.
Or we could have gotten another draft pick that we could have used to trade to get, you know what I mean? There's all these different scenarios that could be happening right now, or that could have happened at the trade deadline that didn't. You know what Waite did? Waite broke the wagon down.
Yeah.
Right? And here the Flyers are again. Okay? It's May the 19th as we're recording this show right now. Okay? And all we've done is clear our throat. Really. I mean, that's all the team's really done. All right, we got new hockey ops and new gen. Cool. Okay. What you gonna do for me next?
It's a little bit of a dog and pony show right now. Like I said, I want to see what they can do, and I think everybody's kind of hungry to see what they can do.
I'm telling you right now, the fans are chomping at the bit to see what's going on, because there's been so little information that's come out, and there's really nothing that's really kind of really been done, really. I mean, all we've really gotten was the announcements of things, and that's it. Well, just
I want to be able to get excited about hockey. Did you watch Carolina? Did you see that stadium going absolutely nuts to watch their team play? They make it a fun experience, like Keith Jones was talking about. They have that nailed down. They have promotions. They have all different events going on, or things going on during the game. And it is exciting to go to a game in Carolina, a not predominantly hockey market, and wasn't until when they came to town there. They were not known for hockey in the Carolinas. And now that, you can't walk down Raleigh without seeing, that red and black jersey popping up everywhere. People go into the game and the stadium filled to capacity. When's the last time you've seen a Flyers stadium packed? They're giving away tickets.
Like that?
In
like
the
that?
90s? With that much excitement and roar in the crowd.
Man, the last time I remember it being like that was when we had the orange out for the 2012 Stanley Cup run.
Maybe, yeah. But I wasn't even so excited about that team.
Right, and I think the 2010 run was better. It was a better team, I think. And the crowd seemed a lot more, because they had the whole Dave Mustaine thing was part of that and everything, and and singing the Crush 'Em song and all that stuff. And so I mean, look, I've never not had a good experience going to watch a Flyers game, as far as going there to the building, okay, and being at the building, other than the fact that it's $21 for 4 chicken strips. Okay. But, that's just the way it is. but I've never not had a good experience there. I've always been very well taken care of there. When we've had box seats, they've taken care of us. When we've had other kinds of seats, we've been taken care of. And then when I've gone in as media, been taken care of there too. Oh, there's plenty of people there to help you, plenty of people there to take care of you, the whole 9 yards. It's a great experience to go to the Wells Fargo Center to watch a hockey game. But listen up, Danny Briere, and listen up, Keith Jones, and listen up, Philadelphia Flyers organization, okay? Your product off the ice is pretty nice. The Xfinity Center and all that stuff, great places and all that, and cool. But your product on the ice has a lot to be desired, and I'm not seeing anything to make it any better. All I'm seeing you doing is washing the windows and painting the walls and hiring the people, but I don't see you doing anything with the product on the ice.
Well, in due time, I guess. In due time, I guess we'll have to see.
Well, we're going to have to wait because it is going to be in due time because I haven't done anything. I mean, I don't know. Is it me?
No, I mean, I think it's a sit and wait game now until things don't really happen in the off season, until the draft itself, and when all the teams, general managers and everything get in the same location in the same building and really start to build for that next season. And I think that's the next big move that the Flyers could possibly make, and it would be one where Danny has said he's wanting to possibly move up and make some big moves. I mean, obviously it's his first year. You want to make a splash of some sort and put a mark on your team. You don't want to just go into next season with Chuck Fletcher's team essentially all over it again. You want to put your own mark on it. So I'm interested to see what that's going to be.
Yeah, me too.
I don't necessarily want it to be the Paul Holmgren era of pulling all these big name guys that are veterans that are long in the tooth at this point, but used to be good 5 years ago. I don't want to see that again either, but I don't know. We'll have to see where Danny goes and what Keith Jones is able to add to.
That's where we're at. That's exactly where we're at. Well, we're at that point now where we're going to have to wait and see what these guys do, because that's where we're at. You know what I mean? So, Lance, I'll tell you what, I know that you're working on an article.
I am.
Right. And we're working on some things coming up here for Prospect Watch too, aren't we?
Yeah, I have a couple interviews coming up. So I'm excited about that, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity to catch up with those guys soon. But definitely I'm working currently on my 7-round mock draft that I do every year. If you guys, read and follow me from before.
Can't wait for that. Can't wait for that. By the way, he is one of the only writers that does a full-on every round mock draft. Most guys or most writers do the first and second round, and then after that it's usually that's it, that's the end of the article. You know what I mean? Lance, this is one of the main reasons why you were brought on as the editor-in-chief, because of your attention to detail and the stuff that you cover. Because I'm here to tell you, we need to know exactly who these kids are going to be, because every single draft pick in this year's draft and next year's draft and probably the one after, the Flyers really need to hit on at least 75% of those picks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's important to get the later picks, and you see that with what Alex Gendron has been doing up in the queue this year. A 7th-round pick for the Flyers, and it looks to be the one really good one that Chuck Fletcher was able to pull out of his hat. And he could potentially make the Flyers roster next season, even if the team is really going to tear it all down and disband the team a little bit, let these kids play. Like, I hope they do. I hope they can allow some kids to come up, like a Tyson Forrester and others, whoever battle it out in camp and deserve that right, and could see some young talent on this ice rather than filling roster spots with the Justin Bronze all over again. If we're gonna
Please don't
tank,
do that.
yeah,
Please
if
don't
we're
do
gonna
that.
if we're
That
gonna rebuild and we're gonna be fighting, for the next couple of seasons to rebuild, then let's do it with kids that are gonna be here when 5 years from now, when they're back to the team we all know and love. Let's do that and gain them the experience rather than putting a bunch of
exactly.
Nick Sealers and Justin Bronze out
You
there
know,
just to fill
we need to
spots.
develop. We need to develop from within. We need to be able to bring guys from the draft and develop them within the Flyers system, within the organization, and have them all on the same page. Okay. And until that starts happening, you can talk rebuild and you can say all the things that you want, but until that stuff starts to happen, it's all just sugarcoating. It's all just a fresh coat of paint on an old wall. You know what I mean? So that's all I'm concerned about with is the fact that I don't want to see the fresh coat of paint on an old wall. I want to see new. I want to see young. I want to see, we all want to see that. Fans, media, everybody look, the NHL is better with Philadelphia in it. Okay. There's no two ways around that. Okay. Every year, it doesn't matter how bad the Flyers are, they still get 17 national league or, national games, right? That's pretty much more than any other team. Okay. Because you know why? Because everybody watches that. Okay. Because those are marquee matchups. We need to be those marquee matchups again.
As much as that burns Gary Bettman to
I
have to
know.
do that. Yeah.
I know. Oh well. Real quick mentioning of Cutter Gauthier playing really well at Worlds.
Yeah.
I think that's been there was a little scary moment there where he took a shot and had to step away for a minute, but was able to come back and has been a difference maker for the team.
Team USA, yeah, for sure. 2 goals I think he scored in 4 games with
Yeah,
them.
yeah. Looks
I
good.
like what I see. He's able to keep up with those guys that, obviously like we were discussing before the show. It's certain teams are filled with NHL players and stacked versus, some of these guys that are other teams that are putting out prospects and stuff like that. So it's definitely exciting to see, and he's definitely going to have a wealth of talent with him next season. I believe most of Team USA is coming to Boston College next year, so it's going
I
to be
can kind of
interesting.
understand, right? I can kind of understand why he decided to stay back in college one more year. I mean, they're going to have a shot, man, at being at the Frozen Four, I think, with that stacked of a lineup. I mean, it's going to be like what Minnesota and Michigan were like this year. I think is what Boston's going to be like next year with everybody from Team USA coming on. You know what I mean? So I really think that's going to be that kind of makes sense too. Plus, look, bringing him up now would only hinder his development anyway. Don't you think? I mean, you don't want to bring up a 7th overall pick and dump him into this garbage pile, do you?
Yeah, you definitely want to put a product on the ice. It's a balance, right? Like you don't want to rush the kids up, especially when we're going to be probably losing a lot of games anyway. But at the same time, you want to put a team out there that the fans are going to want to come see. So I think that's part of the reason why past administration, and I believe this one, is a little leery about getting rid of somebody like Travis Konechny. Who definitely has people out there, calling about him and everything else, the possibility of getting him since they know they're in a rebuild. But you got to leave a little bit of meat on the bone.
I think
for some,
Konechny has to be some of that meat that you have to leave on the bone because you still need to be able to have a reason for people to come to Philadelphia. You know what I mean? And to play with Travis Konechny could be one of those things that would be a good reason to try to come to Philadelphia. You know what I mean? So,
but I do believe, like you said, darn, I think the Boston College Eagles or whatever are going to be hard pressed to beat
Boston
to beat the
University.
Flyers if
That's
they
Boston
played. Yeah.
University. Right? He's not playing for BC. He's playing for Boston University.
No, I think he's playing for Boston.
Boston College is the Eagles, right? They're maroon, but I think Boston.
Boston. That's who he plays for. Boston.
Okay,
College,
all right. I couldn't remember if I thought it was Boston, but I couldn't remember if it was Boston or Boston College. All right.
There's a lot of teams up there, but yeah. He's playing for Boston.
Sorry
College
for the confusion, folks. He's playing for Boston College. So, but yeah, man, we'll see how it goes. That's all we got to do, right? We'll see how it goes, right? That's where we're at. So, Lance, why don't you tell the folks where we can get you, where we can find you, and all the great things that you're doing, man?
Sure. You can find my latest draft article that I hope to get out in the next couple of days. You can find that only at SteelFlyers.com, and you can hit me up and follow me on Twitter as well at Lance Green, the numbers 39.
Awesome sauce, man. Lance, you are the host with the most, the writer extraordinaire, the guardian of the blue paint turned writer, the editor-in-chief. All these nicknames. Gotta say them all. But thank you for everything that you do, man. Really appreciate it. Steel Flyers would not be the same if it wouldn't be for all your contributions and all the great things that you're doing there. So really appreciate that, man. And we really appreciate you folks out there for sure. We really appreciate all the support that you guys do, all the views, all the likes. All you have to do is big thanks to Spreaker. Because of what they do, all you guys have to do is go to your favorite podcasting platforms, type in the Hockey Writers Ink, and we'll come up. You hit the like and you hit the 5 stars, and that helps us to get ranked. Which, speaking of being ranked, right? The Hockey Writers Ink, thanks to you guys, is in the top 15 of all Philadelphia Flyers podcasts, right? We were ranked number 11th, right? So thank you guys very much for that. Really appreciate that, man, for sure. Thank you, Lance, very much for all that you do. I'm Steel Flyers. You can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. And this has been the Hockey Writers Ink. And we'll catch you guys all on the next episode.